Football has stood as a powerhouse in the United States for decades. However, Nielsen Media Research suggests NFL TV ratings have declined by 8% consecutive years since the start of the 2016 season. Whether it be the remarks of President Donald Trump or the risk of concussions, there is another sport on the rise. It has all the big hits, a faster pace of play, and the necessary ingredients to thrive.
I see these high school kids come to rugby and they're like, I've been a lineman for 4 years. I've never touched the ball. I'm like, oh, you get to touch the ball, you might even score. And they're like, wow, how cool is that?
Rugby isn't trying to be football, it's different, and that's what makes it so appealing.
The ball hits the ground, it's play on. Players really have to think for themselves. So I say one of the biggest differences I see is football is coach-centric, where the coach draws up the play, the coach tells the players what the play is going to be, whereas rugby is player-centric, because we coach them during the week and we give them a structure and a framework on how to play the game, and then they get on the field and they just have to play what's in front of them.
Spears started the Phoenix Rugby Club in 2011 and has seen the sport grow from just 4 to about a dozen clubs in the Valley in 6 years. The first youth tackle game in Arizona was just in 2014, and even though there's no pads, rugby may be less damaging than football to the brain.
We didn't have as many concussions back when we had leather helmets and helmets that didn't fit very well because it really hurt to hit somebody with your head. But now that football helmets are very lightweight and they're cushioned and they're comfortable, that's when the use of the head as a weapon started to increase the number of concussions.
People on my football team, they don't want to play without pads. They're scared to get hit without having that extra padding on.
Despite its awkward bulkiness, a rugby ball is actually quite similar to a football, both weighing about a pound each and 11 inches in length. However, scoring in the sports are typed different. Touchdowns are called tries, and punts are called up and unders. And then there's the tackling technique. From a very young age, rugby players are taught to get below their opponent and actually tackle them from behind.
So in rugby, you're taught to do cheek to your butt cheek. So in football, you're supposed to do the other way around. So you're supposed to put your head in front of the player instead of your head behind the player.
If you can't show us at practice that you're able to tackle in a safe manner, then I'm not going to put you on the field and put you at risk. So it's all about, making safe tackles, getting low, wrapping with the arms, keeping the head out of the way.
Now the question is, can rugby compete with football moving forward? As an Olympic sport, the U.S. has made progress, competing in the Games in 2016 for the first time since 1924. But professional rugby in the U.S. has launched about a handful of times and failed. And that's why Brophy College Prep rugby coach Tim Moran believes rugby in the U.S. still needs to be built from the ground up.
It starts with getting kids playing touch rugby at 4, very similar to soccer. My daughter plays soccer on the weekends. She's 9, and you just see all the fields being done. That's how it's done in New Zealand. They literally play from that age up. I look at the timeline of other pro sports. You didn't see 17,000-foot stadiums for football back in the 50s and 60s.
Right behind lacrosse, rugby is the fastest growing team sport in the U.S. according to Fit.com, and it looks to make giant strides forward in the 2020 Olympics. For Cronkite Sports, I'm Josiah Destin.